Alright, all you listeners of the madness and anyone lucky enough to catch this show on their AM/FM dials, welcome to yet another unpredictable, unplanned, unseasoned, and now under a 4:15 in rush hour traffic of madness edition of Under the Radar. I am your host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, and seeing the fact that we're here to help you get through rush hour traffic without wearing your horns out, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's going to happen on this special 4:15 in traffic edition of Under the Radar. Because we kick things off with another newspaper clipping edition of yesterday's news. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out what sort of screenshots and whatnots we can find from the Twitterverse from this past week and beyond for another edition of the 8 Square Delight, because according to Carl and Maestro, we doubled down for this week. And speaking of doubling things down for games, we go to the 5th dimension and pull as many games from the sky as possible for another edition of the Indie Zone, and I think there might be 80 of them this week. I hope I'm wrong. And speaking of people who are wrong or most likely jumping through hoops of fire, we go into a very special ring toss burning edition of the wild world of stunts. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, that might be canceled due to the fire marshals ruling it out. I hope not. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before those infomercials flicker on and off your television sets or before your car moves in traffic, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and for any of you listening at home, ease back those recliners, because it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. So let's get this rush hour madness started, folks. Alright, all you listeners of the madness, welcome back to Under the Radar. And if any of you out there are wondering, no, we are not crazy enough to perform a DWI during this said show. Driving with insanity. Not what you think it is at home, folks. Driving with insanity, which means us trying to operate a show while trying to operate a motion or a vehicle. I was about to say a motion vehicle, but no, it's a moving vehicle according to Carl and the Maestro. What motion will the vehicle be making? Well, you know, it depends on where you put the shifter. It goes forward, backwards. You know, the future cars in the near future will have the ones that go sideways like the Jetsons, or like that one Tex Avery episode that I keep remembering for some strange reason with the seal headlights. Yeah, with actual seals in them. Yeah, it exists. It really does. But besides remembering crazy cartoon moments in reference of trying to operate a show of madness behind the wheel of a car, I think it's time for us to take out our left-handed scissors to cut out some very interesting newspaper clippings from this past weekend and beyond for another edition of yesterday's news. And in our first yesterday's news story, and in more or less Chug's news. For you fans out there who always wanted to see the party try to play the game of Diablo 4 together as a unit, well, I have some good news for you. Because this past weekend, not only you would see Swiss Tony Tyler Breeze, aka Prince Pretty, and even Adam Cole, baby, all getting together to play a good old-fashioned game of Diablo 4. Now, here's hoping in the near future we can see Austin Creed jump into the mix and be a part of the party's activities of this said game of Diablo 4. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, Austin Creed was there in attendance, but he was doing things in between. Alright, cool. Almost as cool as the magical attacks we saw during the stream, too. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the magical attacks and other cool things that took place in the world of Diablo from the party, then you can head on over to the YouTube page or Twitter page of one man only known as The Chugs to check it out for yourself. And in other yesterday's news, and more or less yesterday's video game news, for you fans out there of the game known as Gundam Evolution, unfortunately this week I have to put on my Wade Barrett voice and tell you I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Because it's been announced as of this past weekend that the video game of Gundam Evolution will be shutting down as of this November. And the interesting thing about all this is, outside of the fact that I did not know they had a Gundam player versus player game out there, but also the fact that most of the Gundams were featured from the Gundam universe itself. Now, I'm hoping one of the Gundams that was featured in that game featured the one that did the Iron Claw to take out its enemies, but according to Carl and Michael shaking their head, nope. And the fact that this game originally launched in September of 2022, the creator of it, Kazuya Maruyama, hopefully we said that name right, would go on record by saying the following: "We wanted to create a title that brought first-person shooter fans and Gundam fans together. We challenged ourselves to create an authentic Gundam first-person shooter game that could be played globally. Unfortunately, we have determined that it is no longer possible for us to provide a service that satisfies our players." And I hate to hear that, but hey, thumbs the brakes. And here's hoping in the near future that they either make another Gundam first-person shooter game in the near future that everybody can play, or possibly a whole entire new Gundam game altogether. Which, according to Carl and the Maestro, is basically the same thing you said twice. Right. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the full letter delivered by the creator of the game to you fans at home, then you can go ahead and head on over to the website known as Gundam Evolution to check it out for yourselves. And Gundam Evolution's final day of play will be available as of November 29th of 2023. And not to mention, for you fans out there, the sunsetting roadmap will be available as of this week. And yeah, real sad to hear, and we'll keep you guys informed once the full roadmap is revealed. And in other yesterday's news, and more or less Tiny Toon Adventures news, for you fans out there who always wanted to check out a trailer for the Tiny Toon Adventures theme song that's now Tiny Toons Luniversity, then I have some good news for you. Because not only they're tiny, they're toony, they're all a little loony, they still have the same theme song with a couple of added lyrics for the Luniversity itself. And I, for one, am really gonna love this show when it comes out, and hopefully we'll see appearances from Plucky Duck and all the other classic characters from Tiny Toon Adventures. And according to Carl and the Maestro, with a couple of the screenshots, we just might. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the brand new theme song for Tiny Toons Luniversity, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page, or Twitter X now they call it, page of Cartoon Network to check it out for yourselves. And as a heads up, Tiny Toons Luniversity will be making its way to Cartoon Network and Steam or Stream on Max as of this fall. in other yesterday's news and more or less yesterday's video game domino news. For you fans out there of Pikmin and always wanted to see it in domino form, well, the Domino King is here to help you for this week. Because this week, Pikmin 4, with it being announced, the Domino King would get to work and would decide to create Pikmin with well over 43,812 dominoes. And a very impressive piece of artwork that really shows. And the fact that it took this man well over 2 weeks to set up all of these dominoes shows you the heart and soul this man has for each domino piece that he puts up. And we appreciate it. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out this week's piece of domino art for yourselves, then you can head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as the Domino King to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with that said, for this week, folks, wraps it up for another edition of yesterday's news. And we'll be back with more under the radar than you could shake a stick at right after this. So don't get lost in that madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. And we're back with the show of madness, directing traffic as well as directing leftover news stories, only known as Under the Radar. And in an update for you fans out there of Gundam Evolution, the first to the end of the season for the end of service will kick off as of July 26th of this year. So as of this Wednesday, will be the start of the Storm season, heading toward the end of the game, so here's hoping you get a chance to play it. And speaking of playing things, folks, I think it's time for us to go ahead and check out some cool screenshots and whatnot from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for a very special 10-stacked edition of the 8 Squared Delight. And the first screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Troll Darklin's Hat, hoping we said that name right, with their said screenshot from the video game of Mutant Karate Carney. And this screenshot that they provided for this week shows our hero trying to take down a criminal as they peel their way through city streets, but also shows the giant oversized title of this game as Detective Briggs tries to take down some crime with a couple of hits, kicks, and what have yous in a local building. And not to mention, apparently according to Colin the Maestro, shows a chicken fighting against the turtle. And this screenshot automatically reminds me, and the creator of this game did our job for us this week, not only of a hint of GTA 2, Slay the Spire, and even a little hint of Street Fighter in there as well. But we will add one more in for them for this week, folks, because this game also reminds me a little bit of Fighting Force in there as well, too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this game, just like Fighting Force, you get a chance to actually get a weapon to try to take out your opponents with. And no, Colin the Maestro, not a gun, more or less like a baton or a piece of a pipe or a railing, anything that you can find to take somebody out. You know, sort of like you could do in Condemned, only just with animals. But besides a canary creature fighting people in a canary-based game, the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Eternal Create with their said game of Eternals. And this screenshot that they provided for this week not only shows what appears to be a decrepit city nearing the brink of destruction, but also shows what appears to be zombies and other creatures around snow and other fields, and a sign that says Judgment Day is here. And for some strange reason, that one pay-per-view song of The End is Here is playing in my head right now, which is pretty funny. And with Carl and the Maestro laughing over in the corner, this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say Dead Nation. Yeah, it really does remind me of that, with a little hint of The Last of Us and Division in there as well too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this said defense game that not only you get a chance to hire other units to help you defend this said area, but also a chance for you to possibly fix up these buildings in preparation for whatever in the world is gonna come after you. Or even a chance for you to fix up a couple of the vehicles to use them as weapons as well too, just in case. Cause I got a feeling there's gonna be a lot of whatever in the world's gonna come after you, especially the thing that's holding that rebar club over in the corner. What is that? Apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, a Markland Beast. Fair enough. And the next screenshot that we have up outside of Markland Beast comes from the Twitter page of Cookie Cutter Dev with their said screenshot from the video game of, and apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, a work in progress. And in this said work in progress, we would see Cherry rocking out with a guitar, taking it to a series of enemies, knocking them upside the head with cool guitar solos, and even able to transport herself to different areas and use a Pete Townsend power slide to take out skeletons and other creatures, all with the power of rock. And yes, we're doing the devil horns in honor of her taking out all of these crazy enemies. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, they just found out the name of the game is Stratoblaster. Not bad. And this screenshot that they provided for this week, yeah, it automatically reminds me of, I would have to say Brutal Legend. Yeah, definitely reminds me of Brutal Legend. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game that not only you get help from other rock legends to help you out in this game to give you special powers just like in Brutal Legend, but maybe, just maybe, a cameo from Gem, because I got a feeling her powers will be truly outrageous. Carl and the Maestro getting the rotten fruit ready after that joke, so next game we have up, besides glam rockers trying to destroy evil demons from outer space, comes from the Twitter page of Crescent Moon Games, with their said screenshot from the video game of a work in progress. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, it's called Hoverchilla. Nice. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our cat-like creature hovering about through what appears to be an ancient temple collecting coins, only for him to fly in the air with a makeshift kickflip, go underneath some form of crazy bridge, collect rubies and diamonds on dry land as he makes his way back to the water to collect some more coins, all before the cameras would fade to black. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of, I would have to say Diddy Kong Racing, because I'm pretty sure that looks like Bumper. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, he didn't say, whoa, way, when jumping, so no, it was not Bumper. Oh man, I wish it was, I really do. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this game that not only you get a chance to actually create your own character to be a part of the madness, but also a chance for you to create your own stage as well too. And why? Because I got a feeling a couple of you indie gamers out there will come up with some of the craziest courses known to man that might involve a dilapidated rocket ship that you have to go through and avoid rocket blasts as you try to make your way out. You know, like one of those crazy levels that was featured in Sonic the Hedgehog. And Carl and the Maestro shaking their head in agreement, so yeah, I love to see it happen. But speaking of crazy getaways, folks, the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Studio Gen Z with their said screenshot from the video game of Axiom of Maria. Or Maria, according to Carl and the Maestro. And the screenshot, besides that potato moment we just had, would show our hero riding down the highway road only to jump to a neighboring vehicle to stab it near the gas tank to cause it to explode and for him to jump back onto his bike in enough time to watch it blow up from a distance before the cameras will fade to black. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Final Fantasy VII Remake, but a little hint of Devil May Cry in there as well too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for the said game that for each vehicle that you do destroy can help you upgrade your vehicle in the long run. Cause I got a feeling you're gonna need the upgrade for your vehicle, seeing the fact that I got a feeling they're gonna probably send a Dreadnought after you in the near future since that vehicle couldn't get the job done. Which for some strange reason, and one thing we forgot to mention, it sort of looks like the Tumbler from the Batman series. It really does. And the next screenshot that we have up, besides you fighting against Batman's toys, comes from the Twitter page of Play Smallland with their said screenshot from the video game Smallland Survive the Wilds. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our micro friend here trying to make his way through a jungle which turns out to be somebody's backyard as he flies through the skies with what appears to be golden wings. For the screenshot to ask us, how many of you folks already earned your golden wings? Well, not me, not yet. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series, but a little hint of Fantastic Max in there as well when he got shrunk during one of the episodes. Yeah, really does remind me of that. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game that you run into absolutely no spiders to take you out while you're flying through the skies. And according to Carl and the Maestro, that might not be possible because they could have sworn they saw a spider in one of the trees as you flew away. Where? And now that I'm looking at it, yeah, I can see it too, and I'm not a fan of that. Not at all. Not at all. So here's hoping you have some form of weapon to combat against those said spiders that's gonna try to take you out while you're flying through the skies. But besides crazy spider-like moments, folks, the next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Game Zacko Pro with their said game of Zacko Pro, or the screenshot from the video game Zacko Pro. And the fact that we got tongue-tied from that shows in the said screenshot that they provided for this week, which shows our heroine using her gun skills and her kung fu skills to take out a multitude of enemies with roundhouse kicks, and especially with a very crazy flaming roundhouse kick to one of the enemies that tried to attack from around the corner, for her to gain another level in her gun skill and attack skill by taking them out. And here's hoping in the near future for this game that automatically reminds me of Resident Evil 6 during the Mercenaries mode, that not only you get a chance to learn different forms of kicks, but a chance for you to learn a Tiger knee to take out your opponents at a moment's notice. Because, you know, the kick's effective, but trust me, a knee to the face is just as good. And according to Carl and the Maestro, surprised they didn't ask that I would have some form of grappling move to take them out too. You know what, as a matter of fact, since we're on the subject, add a grappling move into the game too, like a Hurricanrana off one of the crates. That would be pretty cool. Hopefully they do it. And the next screenshot that we have up, besides people trying to take people out with kung fu and gung fu skills, comes from the Twitter page of Terry Powell 1964 with their said screenshot from the video game of Fallen Aces. And during this said screenshot, which features our hero not only opening and closing doors, but also heading into the kitchen to turn off the lights, turn back on the lights, and even look inside the fridge for some grub, and would even find some food to try to heal himself, but at the same time while experimenting with things inside of the house, I got a feeling there might be somebody outside waiting for him. And according to Carl and the Maestro, they didn't see anybody until, yeah, that one initial moment. Yikes. Yikes. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Max Payne, but a little hint of 13 in there as well too. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game, outside of getting the ability of using anything inside this home to take out any of the enemies coming after you, but also a chance for you to break down the door before they break it down, or move the fridge in a way to prevent them from getting in. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, that's unavoidable, especially seeing the fact that they took out the door with a grenade. So, yeah. Here's hoping that you can kick the door in their face and just take them out like Jason Statham would. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, that's more of a possibility. And the next screenshot that we have up, besides somebody getting a ninja kick to the face like in the movie The Transporter, comes from the Twitter page of Super 1377 Game, or Super 1337 Game, with their said screenshot from the video game Super 1377. Why do I keep calling it 77? It's 37, and I got a feeling the reason why in the world we did is because during the said screenshot, which was short but definitely sweet, would show our hero or heroine taking out this said creature in super slow motion with a sword uppercut, sending him flying into pieces after getting chopped to bits with one fell swing. Nice. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of not only, I would have to say No More Heroes with a little hint of Lollipop Chainsaw. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this said game that not only you get a chance to use different weapons outside of a katana to take out your enemies, but also a chance for you to actually use other moves to take them out as well too. And no, Carl and the Maestro, not a tiger knee, but more or less a pump kick to send his head flying through that field goal that I think I see at the end of the screen. And it's not a field goal, apparently it's a soccer net to catch the parts. Alright? And the next screenshot that we have up, besides catching parts from demon-like creatures, comes from the Twitter page of Turbo Sliders with their said screenshot from the video game of Turbo Sliders Unlimited. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our said Turbo Sliders making their way through a makeshift course, only for a couple of them to get caught up by the rocks, and for a couple of them to jump over a giant oversized building to the other side clean, with some of them landing on all four wheels like what Carl and Maestro like love, only for them to make their way across the giant ball and for several of them to get eliminated, then for them to make their way through a makeshift windmill all the way to the checker flag on the other side before the cameras faded to black. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of one of your crazy tracks from Grand Theft Auto Online. Yeah, it definitely reminds me of that, with a little hint of Micro Machines and Hot Wheels in there as well too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this said game that not only you get a chance to create your own cars, but also maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to create your own tracks as well too. Because once again, you indie gamers out there will come up with a track so crazy that I got a feeling it would throw somebody through a giant loop. Now, Carl and the Maestro keep saying that we request giant loops every week, which we don't. You guys just make them, which, keep it up. And the last but not least screenshot that we have up for this week, speaking of people getting thrown through a loop, comes from the Twitter page of Inira Game with their said game of Inira. And the screenshot that they provided for this week, and the reason why we mention a loop, folks, would show our hero taking out enemies with not only helicopter blade spins, but also a stab to the gut, a multitude of shots, and even a double backflip headshot to the ground, reminding me of Neo off the bat, and even going into an enemy facility to take them out with helicopter shots and whatnots before the title of the game would pop up on the screen once again. In the coolest way known possible, too. And here's hoping in the near future for this said game that reminds me of Neo 2 with a hint of Devil May Cry in there as well. That not only you can come up with your own finishing moves, but also design your own outfits and weapons that take it to each bad guy known possible in this game. According to Carl and the Maestro, move combinations maybe, but clothing might be a bonus. Who knows? And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool screenshots and whatnots from Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for yourselves, then you can head on over to the Twitter pages of not only Nomad, Octocurio, Oliver Snyders, Playing Indies, Indie Rhymes, Alpha Beta Gamer, or even under the hashtag of Screenshot Saturday. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the screenshots that we liked for this week and get a further interpretation of it for yourselves, then you can head on over to our Twitter page, only known as the 00 Agent 0012, where Carl and the Maestro decided to make a folder entitled Indie Screenshots X. What, because X marks the spot? Apparently according to them, because that's the new name of Twitter now. Since when? Apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, since this past weekend. See, we're not in the loop for things. That's why we catch up late to things. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the Indie Zone as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, all you listeners to the madness and indie game lovers alike out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's screenshot of the week, all of them. Yeah, we decided that we couldn't choose what screenshot we loved the most during the break and decided to pick all of them just because they're all awesome in their own way. Even though Carl and the Maestro said the only reason we're doing that is because we mentioned 10 this week, which I got a feeling is gonna be a lot to try to go through. And you're right on that front, but at the same time, still, they were all awesome screenshots for this week. But besides screenshots from the Planet X, or Twitter X is now we learned what it's being called now, I think it's time for us to peer off into the far distance and check out well over 75 games from not only from the Beyond Indie Showcase, but also from that indie itch you're about to scratch from the 5th dimension for a mega-size edition of the Indie Zone. Oh, and look right there, folks. The games are starting to come in slowly. I think it's time for us to catch a couple. Let's do this. And the first game that we have up comes from the creator and developers Truck World Studios with their set game of Truck World Australia. And this game will be coming soon to the Steam machine near you. Next game we have up comes from the developers Square Weasel Studios, nice name by the way, with their said game of Chronicles of Tal'Dun, The Remainder. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99, and for those who wants the DLC along with it, an extra $2.99 as well. Next game that we have up comes from the developers Doom Game Studios with their said game of Astronaut. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99. Next game that we have up comes from the creator and developers of Think Trunk with their said game of Hellcard. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Neutron Star with their said game of Soul Link. And this game currently has a demo available and a release date to be announced in the future. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Grind Pop with their said game of Isle of Arrows. And this game currently available for the low price of $12.99, and for those who wants the bundle, $23.78. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Whoa Whoa Cat with their said game of Mooley's Dreamland. And this game currently available for the low price of $5.99 and a demo that you can try before you buy. Next game we have up after that comes from the creator Behemoth with their said game of Nova Lands, Amelia's Mission. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Frostwood Interactive with their said game of Unwording. And this game currently available for the low price of $4.99. Hell of a deal. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers of Farlight Games Industry with their said game of Vertical Kingdom. And this game will release as of next year of 2024. Not bad. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Edwardian Labarca Torres with their said game of Dodge King. And this game currently available for the low price of $4.99. Not bad. Not bad at all. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Pixel Chess with their said game of Sons of Valhalla. And this game will be released in the near future, but there is a game known as Xenonauts 2 that's currently available for $29.99. And according to Call of the Might Show, that counts as another game mentioned on the list. Thanks! And the next game that we have up comes from the developers King Blade Games with their said game of Do Not Buy This Game. Why not? Well, anyway, folks, for those who want to play this game, it will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you and currently has a demo available as we speak. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Spawn Point Studios with their said game of Hooking Season. And this game currently has a demo that you can try before you buy, but unfortunately it won't be available until the near future for a Steam machine near you. And with that said, folks, we now make our way into a whopping total of 60 games that we're going to mention right now from the Indie Itch page. Carl and the Maestro said, get your glasses ready for this one, and I will. And the first game we have up comes from the creators Overtron with their set game of Lab Project. C. Jacqueline C. with their game of The Storm Within. Hayasaka with their game of The Board Baseball. Work Banana Repeat from Chico Studios. And the next game that we have up, which comes from none other than Killscreen 1000 with their game of Vendon 6. Pasta Boss with their game of Swanky Crystals. K-Game with Vesucci. Khalib Webman with their game of King Midas Tale. Nice picture, by the way. Lumirex Games with their game of Astral Fighters. Rio Castille 2 with their game of Rio Castille's Field Trip. Alvaro 8A with their game of R2D2 AI Prototype. Jaded Quail, nice developer name by the way, with their game of Fruit and Shoot. Nerdski with their game of Anarchy. Sal with their game of Sal Wonka Tour. His Ham with their game of Skybox. Alex with their game of Be Safe Tomorrow. Verelson with their game of Worm vs. Snake. Lapidot 43 with their game of Tumbleballs. Cheesy Puffs with their game of Ed's World Watch App. Josie or Jose with their game of Literal Gluttony. Team Punk Desco with their game of Humanoid. Glitchy TSP with their game of Exterminator. Shady Poop Cat with their game of Quantum. Taskmasters with their game of Space Shooter. Lazy Coke with their game of Phobia. Game Dev Justin with their game of A Turtle Story, or A Turtle of a Turtle Story. And according to Carl and the Maestro, it's a story of a turtle toy. Alright. Anyway, next game we have up comes from Javi Dev with their game of Giraffa Gorda. Pit Solution Games, nice developer name by the way, with their game of Battle Chiefs Legends. Richa with their game of Fish of Destiny. Terran Sneak Games with their game of Silent Den. Cheesy Puffs with their game of Aphrodite Mobile Demo. Is Likeness with their game of Laserfield. Walters Game Studios with their game of Call of Tubbies. Isol Games with their game of Breakout Birdie Puzzle. Lamb VS with their game of Rooftop Runners. MZ with their game of Sequence Memory. GTF Fox N6Y with their game of Sync Link Sage 2023 demo. Vero Drawing 575 with their game of SPS Plus game. Right Hoodman with their game of Raptor Killing Sim 2023. Cheesy Puffs with their game of Test Happy Mrs. Chicken. Kim Cam Jam, nice developer name by the way, with their game of Haku's Ice Defense. Lemon Scope Studios with their set game of Seal or No Seal. Another one from Lemon Scope Studios of Heroine, or Heroine? We'll go with the second one just in case. Lemon Scope Studios again with another game of Double Diver, and yet another game called Desert Drifter, and even another game called A Parkour Elliptic Runner, and another game from them called Alice in Wonderland. Nice name, by the way. Gry Victoria with their game of Garage WN. Everett App Development with their game of Chess Remix, Chess Variants. El the Gamer with their set game of Thick Sharks Drug Cartel. Gary Victoria with their game of Model Idol Tower Defense. Yash Chamara with their game of Tic Tac Twist. Carmona 629 with their game of Carmona Game. Yoshi Gamer FR with their game of Platformer. Mobo Job 007 with their game of A Quest of the Enchanted Crown. Cake Serpent with their game of Pushback. Hexagon with their game of No Effort Empire. Togemet with their game of Flame Maze. And finally, last but certainly not least, from the developers, Virus Dev with their game of Farmer Life. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games to scratch that indie itch that you've got at home for yourselves, then you can head on over to the itch.io game page, only known as itch.io.com, or even head on over to their YouTube page known as itch.io to check out all of those cool indie games for yourselves. And as a matter of fact, for those who are wondering at home, the number of games currently available for the itch page right now is well over 794,216. So yeah, there's a lot of them over there. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that comes from beyond our very solar system, and even from beyond the fifth dimension itself, then you can head on over to the store.steampower page, only known as store.steampower.com, and just click ever so lightly on that Dream Hack Beyond Indie Showcase button to check out a whole bunch of cool games that are just out of this world. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another back-breaking, spine-tingling edition of the Wild World of Stunts as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't touch that dial away from the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, all you risk takers and backbreakers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And now it's time for us to see which one of you crazy stunt doubles is going to be paying double for your hospital bills for this week, as we leap into another edition of the Wild World of Stunts. And the first stunt that we have up comes from none other than the femme fatales of the sky, Vinewood on Fire, with their said stunt of Stunts in the Crew Motorfest closed beta. And what a Motorfest they would have, because not only we would see the femme fatales of the sky proving their crown royalty in the aerial activist department by not only pulling off an upside-down fly thread through the needle stunt through a tunnel using a plane, but would also pull off an amazing moonsault directly on the side of what appears to be some form of bunker, landing on their front wheel to pull off a nollie just to stop a mere couple of inches before they head up another ramp for them to stop on a dime like what, Carl and the Maestro?
Like a glove.
And oh, before I forget, was even able to barrel roll a Jeep in the jungle to land on the riverbed floor like what?
Like a glove.
And Carl and the Maestro, as well as the PR department, gives this stunt a 10, with apparently the elements of land, air, and sea on the said card. How'd you pull that off? Apparently from a sign they got from eBay. Oh, not bad, not bad. And the next stunt that we have up comes from none other than Gimme the Ball with their said stunt of GTA 5 Freeway to Drain Backflip Nemesis. And during this crazier than all hell stunt, I got a feeling this Nemesis became a close ally to Franklin this week, because we would see Franklin heading towards the Los Santos River, or makeshift reservoir, according to Carl and the Maestro, correcting me after I've been saying that for years, for him to pull off a wicked moonsault and super slow motion from the freeway exit all the way to the drain itself. And apparently, according to Gimme the Ball, he would call this one Down the Drain. I thought he would have called it a flip down the drain, but apparently it was too long to put in the title. And would even show not one, not two, but 3 separate replays of his flipping moment for Carl, the Maestro, and even the doctors in the PR department to be slack-jawed that he did this without a helmet, only to land on his wheels like what, Carl and Maestro?
Like a glove.
And the PR department is giving this stunt, along with Carl and the Maestro and even the doctors over in the corner, a 10. And the doctors wrote on the one that they put a 10 on, that could have ended badly. Yeah, it could have, but you know, Gimme the Ball's a professional. And we've seen him do backflips like this before, so this is just a piece of cake and another day in the park for him. And speaking of days in the park, folks, the next stunt that we have up comes from El Canat with their said stunt from the video game of Tristan Cole's Pro Driver. And the reason why we mention a stunt and a walk in the park, folks, because during this said stunt, we would see none other than El Canat riding in that blue car once again to not only do a power slide directly into a side backflip, but into a 50-50 grind, power sliding into a couple of chairs and heading directly down the street to do yet another crazy barrel roll with all 4 wheels hitting the dirt like it did for all of these stunts like what, Carl and the Maestro?
Like a glove.
And Doc, did anybody get hurt this week? And he would tell me to zoom in on the last 5 seconds and oh. Apparently someone who tried to dive out of the way of the cars, folks, would dive directly into the cars. And according to the doctors over in the corner, that's a full body cast and Inspector Gadget, just to save me the trouble of listing all the broken bones that happened during that moment. Eesh. But outside of that, folks, Carl and the Maestro, as well as the PR department, gives this stunt a perfect 10 and would use the MTV Jackass crutches with the skull on it for the 10. Because it forms an X? Yeah, that's the reason why they used it. And speaking of X, or should we say extreme moments that would happen during the show, the next stunt that we have up comes from none other than Ricky the Raccoon, aka from Peakstone, from the video game Slope Crashers. And Ricky the Raccoon would call this his Rick tricks. Oh, I like the ring of that. And during these Rick tricks, folks, not only we would see Ricky the Raccoon on a giant, oversized, icy pole beam-like rail, pulling off an incredible 360, leading into what appears to be a 720 the second he hits the dirt from that parachute jump. Then immediately after that would take things onto the tube to pull off a reverse 360 onto another 360 into a double moonsault with a parachute landing on the rail to pull off a 540 spin on said rail, only to land on the other side with a 360 like what, Carl and the Maestro, on that said fresh powder?
Like a glove.
For Ricky the Raccoon's Rick tricks to truly stun Carl the Maestro and the PR department. Yeah, I would have to say the same, and the fact that he was able to do that all in one trick is insanity. And the only reason it was considered as one trick, folks, is because he held the combo meter down to pull it all off. So very impressive, Ricky the Raccoon. Very impressive. I can see the rehabilitation is working. But besides Ricky the Raccoon being on fire, folks, and speaking of fire, I think it's time for us to go into our last but not least stunt that we have up for this week, which comes from Yum Yum Jammy with their said stunt of the Stuntman. And during this said stunt, proving Carl and the Maestro wrong from the intro, we would see Yum Jammy here getting in his gym jammies to fly over the said beach of, what was that again? Apparently the beaches of Del Puro, only for him to fly directly through a ring of fire, Carl and the Maestro over in the corner, to land clean on the other side like what? Like what?
Like a glove.
And Carl and the Maestro over in the corner stunned, but don't get stunned too quick, because immediately after that, we would see our stunner Young Jammy making his way to the streets of Los Santos after exiting the Grand Sonora Desert to try to live out his dream to jump the freeway roads, and would be able to do so, but no! Jammy, watch out for that bus! Oh! And the second he landed from that jump, folks, he would smash directly into the side of a bus, turning Yum Yum Jammy into jelly because his bones would be broken after that said moment. And according to the doctors, I would be correct on that one, because he would not only break his hands, he would break his knees, his feet, his ankles, and yeah, just say Inspector Gadget, because we already know the deal around here. He is extremely hurt, but at the same time got all 10s around the board from Carl and the Maestro and the PR department, which is what matters. He was able to live his dream as a stuntman, only to leave as a mummy. But besides that bit of mummy time that he's gonna have in the hospital, folks, if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other crazy stunners getting themselves maimed for unnecessary fame, then you can head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and just click on that video page to check out which one of these crazy stunners is gonna play with fire and ultimately get burned in the process. At least third-degree burns, according to Carl and the Maestro, if he had to hit that ring of fire that the fire marshal said he couldn't, use. But hey, that's the thing around here with the wild world of stunts. Not only we defy laws of physics, we defy laws altogether to make these stunts happen. See, we should have ended with that. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week, right after this. So don't switch from that madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you graveyard shift racers out there tonight, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week goes to not only the femme fatales of the sky, Vinewood on fire with their said stunt of stunts in the Crew Motorfest closed beta, but also goes to Ricky the Raccoon with his Rick tricks from the video game of Slope Crashers. And the reason why in the world these two stunts made it in for the Stunt of the Week for this week, well, first off, if anybody who's as much of an aerial activist as Vinewood on Fire, who's able to thread the needle upside down through a tunnel and pull off a moonsault into a nollie, definitely deserves to be mentioned during the said part of the show. And the reason why in the world the second stunt got mentioned for this week, for this part of the show, well, if anybody who can have a trick combination like that after being in the hospital for almost 2 years with back surgery, definitely deserves to be mentioned during this part of the show as well for innovating some cool snowboarding tricks. And speaking of innovators in cool things outside of tricks but tracks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and see who was the best of the best for this final full week of this month of independence for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Vax4223 with their said track of Open Sea Ramp Racing, which for some strange reason sounds like its own game within itself. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track for this week, folks, not only because of the fact that he included every car across the board with the exception of weaponized vehicles that you know and love, but don't fret, plenty of rockets and mayhem to take place on this open sea-like race with plenty of jumps to be had during it as well. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you fans out there is to make sure you pick the right vehicle for the job with lots of handling and with lots of armor. Because if you don't, there's a high possibility of you getting blown up out of mid-air during this said race. Trust me, it's bound to happen. At least an 85% chance, according to Carl and the Maestro. So keep your head on a swivel and make sure you choose your car wisely. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Unlucky123 with their said track of ULS Sewer Stunt 2. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this crazier than all hell track, folks, not only because of all of the adrenaline junkie stunts that you can pull off during this said race, but also because of the fact that you get a chance to do it with supercars. Not bad. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you fans out there is two things. One, make sure you get the T20 for this said track, and two, momentum. Because the second you lose your momentum on this track, you're most likely going to lose that pole position for any of the stunts that's going to take place in the Los Santos sewers. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Toyo Cars 79, nice name by the way, with their said track of Extreme Derby Death Race. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track for this week, folks, not only because it gives you control of just about every car across the board, but also seeing the fact that it involves a figure 8 center in this race with rings of fire and plenty of targets, including you, that might get known during this said race. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there who is most likely going to be eating at Red Lobster or Sizzler tonight with the T-bone steak that's going to be in the center of this whole thing is to make sure you don't get lapped and watch out for cars in the crossing. Because if you don't, let's just say it's going to come back to haunt you and haunt you big time. Eesh. Yeah, according to Carl and the Maestro showing a picture over in the far off corner, it will. So, keep your head on the swivel for this race too, and make sure you choose your car wisely. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator of Rui23 Try GTA with their said track of High Speed BMX. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this race, folks, not only because it gives you a choice between motorcycles and cycles, but also the fact that during this race, you're going to be riding with a lot of speed behind you no matter what you pick, with plenty of tubes to be had during this said race. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there is to make sure you keep your balance on this said track. Because if you don't and you go into one of those crazy spirals, let's just say that there's a high possibility you might land on your head or worse and lose this race. So make sure you keep your wits about you, and hopefully you'll get that checkered flag for this said race. We hope. And the last but certainly not least track that we have up for this week comes from the creator Mardrias Javier, nice name by the way, with their said track of Larga Distinta Jueves. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, it translates to, drumroll please, large distance Jueves. Huh, didn't know that. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this larger-than-life track, outside of the fact that it's well over 33 kilometers long, but also seeing the fact that apparently it's called in English, according to Carl and my show, Long Distance Thursday, with plenty of different stunts to be had to make this race very interesting, no matter how long the distance is. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there is to make sure you pick the car that is right for the job, that can handle all of these stunts during this set race. Because if you don't, let's just say it will cost you during this set race. So make sure you choose your car wisely and don't give up during this race, because you have 33.72 kilometers to try to win it back. So go for it. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other crazy tracks that are in playlist form that we decided to include for this week, then you can head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and look up the playlist entitled Jump X to check it out for yourselves. And with that said, folks, wraps it up for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, all you listeners of the madness, seeing the fact that the infomercials are starting to flicker on and off your television sets and we've got to get out of here before that truly happens, we might as well bring control of the television sets back to you, the listeners of the madness at home, as we bring Under the Radar for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of this madness we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered, because you can catch the show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Tumblr, or Instagram pages that are still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Under the Radar 415. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, that's what time the traffic started. Ugh, yeah, that was a long time ago now, wasn't it? And if you guys want to go ahead and check out what other crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this month of independence, like a traffic jam that may have lasted 4 hours, depending on where you live, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube/Twitter pages, still named the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, now a new Discord page to go along with it. Jeez, all these websites that we're starting to get now. And before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you, the listeners of the madness out there, for listening in to another Indie Rush Hour Traffic of Madness edition of Under the Radar. If you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Eddie yelling at Double D about his rocket being faulty. Yeah, you know the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and they're giving me the thumbs up while testing out the parachute. Hey, be careful with that. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and here's hoping your music gets featured in a cartoon one day. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. And finally, last but certainly not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet, sweet video game hits, clips, tracks, and stunts that we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And like always, guys, keep those games, tracks, and stunts a-coming. And especially to you gamers out there and stunners, because we got well over 342 games now on the list, and apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, one of you crazy stunners is gonna jump over a giant 500 once we get to 500 games. And if you do, we'll give you this sparkler helmet. So keep them coming, because you never know what show might be lurking around the corner next. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there know we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro saying, your stupid rocket didn't work, Double D. I told you before, it's a prototype. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And always remember and never forget, no matter what time of the day this show may air, during whatever sort of pages of social media decides to change, like the traffic that changes around here on a weekly basis, that has more cars coming through here than your average Talladega NASCAR track, that involves us even mentioning a cartoon on 2 separate occasions in under 1 week of madness, to keep flying low and stay under the radar. Good night, everybody.